Number 5.
Elsa. E-L-S-A. Show me Elsa. Nerd. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Yeah, you made a connection.
Dren from Splice. I don't want to say much without spoiling this movie, because the direction it turns is that unexpectedly messed up and creepy, but I'll say what I can. This human-made creation was put together via a conglomerate of different animal genes, including that of one of the main characters. Thanks to some pretty stellar special effects and great sound editing, she looks just human enough, but so eerily different that nearly every scene with her makes you feel fabulously uncomfortable. She also has the monster movie trope of never staying dead, even when one of her creators tries to drown her.
He's trying What are you doing? Let her go! Let her go! No, you're killing her! Let her go! No, it's fine! Let her go! You're Please let her go! Please let her go! She's breathing.
She has amphibious lungs.
What the? Amphibious lungs? Screw that. Hammer plus skull equals dead. Do it, man. Trust me. You'll see I'm doing you a favor. She has multiple phases of growth, starting as whatever the hell this is, continuing to an emaciated T-Rex mixed with a pug, then a creepy child, to a much creepier adolescent with some boundary issues, then her adult phase. In her adult form, where she kinda looks like Mewtwo, she sports backward-pointing knees, a stinger in her tail, and wings of some sort? During all these phases, it's really remarkable how cute she can seem, and yet how equally monstrous in the span of a few moments. Once she becomes an adult, then the movie gets really creepy. I won't say how, I won't tell you, but check it out. The ultimate resolution of the movie is utterly chilling, and more than enough to put this monster in human-animal hybrid skin on the list. Number 4. Godzilla, tied with Leatherback, a kaiju from Pacific Rim. No self-respecting movie monster list can be complete without the granddaddy monster of them all, Godzilla. Brought to us by Japan, this giant radioactive Monstersaurus Rex was actually a metaphor for the atom bomb and nuclear fallout. But it was one of the first unique creatures that wasn't giant ants, giant squid, giant spiders, a giant gorilla, giant rabbits. You get where I'm going with this. And yes, there's a movie with giant rabbits that kill people. What the actual hell? The destruction Godzilla left behind felt more like a force of nature than it did a creature. That's how destructive and huge it was. And after 35 films, including one awful American attempt, and then a really good American redo, this mega monster is still kicking strong, and looking sexier than ever. Oh yeah! Godzilla is versatile. It uses its tail, Has one hell of a good curb stomp.
Bite the curb, motherfucker!
And finally, radioactive fire breath. Absolutely gigantic, the King of Monsters definitely warrants a spot on the list. But, tied with old G-Zilla, I felt the need to include one of the kaiju clearly inspired by Gojira on this spot too.
My choice being Leatherback.
He's colossal in size, has big old Donkey Kong arms making him ridiculously strong, and can take more than several hits to the face. But what puts Leatherback above the other kaiju is this handy ability right here. Yup, that's a giant wreck lizard monster thingy with a built-in EMP. EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse. Considering humans, our greatest advantage over the wild is our brains, our tools, and hence our technology. You take that away, and we're back to chucking spheres and rocks at giant ocean monsters again. And that's what puts Leatherback up here with Godzilla. Not only is it huge, beastly, and strong, but it has the ability to render our greatest advantage completely void. Leatherback and Godzilla. Both big enough to take the number 4 spot. Number 3. The Velociraptors, Jurassic Park. I know what some of you are thinking. A tiny dinosaur fits higher on the list than the King of Monsters itself? How can that be? Well, Godzilla is huge, sure, but she mostly only comes stomping around Japan, or showing up to get into a tussle with other monsters. She's big and badass,
But that's rarely ever scary.
but the raptors? Oh man, are they scary. The first time we see a raptor in its full glory is one of the most tense, life-threatening scenes ever.
Mr. Hammond, I think we're back in business.
And the scene with them in the kitchen, chasing the kids, is pure, unbridled, terrifying fight or flight survival. Damn you, Spoon! The raptors are remorseless, ruthless, quick, and terrifyingly smart. They figure out doors, for goodness sakes!
It's just the two raptors, right? You sure the third one's contained?
Yes. Unless they figured out how to open doors.
Sure, they are resurrected by man, but being based on an already completely existing creature, this makes them that much scarier. They are something that rivals some of our highest expectations of intelligence. Millions of years of evolutionarily perfected hunting mechanics brought back to life, and rapidly climbing our understanding of where it fits in the food chain. There is no motivation behind their killing, no revenge plot, no sadism, no pleasure, just pure, ferocious, deadly instinct. They are like a wild lion, times 100. Guiltless and efficient, they are a perfect and horrifying movie monster.
And to anyone who asks, well, if you're doing dinosaurs already, why not just go straight to the big bad T-Rex herself?
Well, if you ask me, the raptors are higher on the list due to their intelligence and teamwork. Several monsters that work together, plan, and strategize in a pack, I feel are more terrifying than a single big monster, killing more out of a show of force and territory. The raptors do it because they can, and because they're good at it. Just look at this scene as the Alpha watches Muldoon get flanked and absolutely owned.
Clever girl.
She's like a James Bond villain, watching from the sides as her underlings execute her master plan and will. She only needs to lift up a clawed hand and stroke that snake while being like, "Yes, excellent work, my pretties." The only thing more terrifying than a raptor would be a monster that's as efficient in a group as it is alone.
Speaking of which...
Number 2. The Xenomorph Alien franchise. These are the noises that filled my nightmares for years.
150 rounds on D. Come on, baby. Come on.
Seven. 6.
Holy hell!
The Xenomorph, the perfect organism, is truly a perfect survivor. A creature that defies classification.
My biologist friends and I always tried to discuss this, and the closest thing we could come to was a virus-like organism, but on a much bigger scale.
It can adapt to any environment, spread and reproduce in any way possible, and, like I said, can work well solo as well as in a team.
Let's go back and just take it from the top.
In the first Alien, a much more horror survival themed film, we were given the introduction to the perfect organism. Starting with a wonderfully rapey facehugger, fitting our virus analogy earlier, the new lifeform literally bursts forth from the host and very rapidly evolves into a larger killing machine. Alone, this gigantic alien is perfectly capable at taking down an entire crew. Sure, soldiers they were not, but armed with its silence, intimidation, acid for blood, and a sleek black chitinous body, the first Xenomorph strikes from the shadows and takes them down one by one. In a deleted and very terrifying scene, we see what's described in the books and comics as the Eggmorph mutation. a specially evolved technique that the aliens have to directly and painfully transform other host bodies into aliens just like it. They don't even need facehuggers to reproduce. But through wit and some sheer luck, Ellen blasts it out of the airlock, where we see it's perfectly capable of surviving the vacuum of space. And I like this. People say nothing can exist in the vacuum of space. That's true, based on our subjective view of how we fare in space. Ridley Scott himself has said one reason he likes space sci-fi is because so much is unknown that it's impossible for us humans to know everything. So sure, most carbon-based life forms can survive in a vacuum. So what if this creature isn't carbon-based life form? We don't know. We don't even know what it is. In the sequel, however, we learn more. We learn that the eggs must come from a queen, and that normally the xenomorphs function on much more of a hive mind mentality.
Hey, maybe it's like an ant hive.
Bees, man. Bees have hives.
You know what I mean. There's like one female that runs the whole show.
Yes, the queen.
Yeah, the mama. She's badass, man. I mean big.
We see this as the aliens work in massive, coordinated strikes that are enough to make even those battle-hardened Marines lose their collective shit.
17 days? Hey, man, I don't want to rain on your parade. We're not going to last 17 hours. Those things are going to come in here just like they did before, and they're going to come in here, and they're going to come in here, and they're going to get us!
Guns and future weapons may help, but only a bit. Invisible to thermal and infrared,
Jesus. Maybe they don't show up on infrared at all.
their mastery of stealth continues. And, should they get too close, and they will get close, from nothing but sheer numbers and tenacity, they friggin' explode in a splash of acidic death upon their extermination. Much like a bombardier beetle or a Malaysian exploding ant. We see more of their advanced intelligence, like the raptors, testing fortifications and weaknesses, changing strategy, but also one step higher, cutting the power and finding alternative paths. They also have some form of communication and higher understanding, shown in one of my favorite scenes I like to call Stage 3 of Death, Bargaining. The swarm itself is terrifying enough, but the queen herself is no slouch, going toe-to-toe with a goddamn mech suit.
Get away from her, you bitch!
She's big, she's sleek, she's beautiful.
Yeah, that's right, I said it.
She's strong. The queen herself is like the final boss of a video game. Look at the way she moves. She's like a friggin' lioness stalking the fields. Look at the way her tail is poised, like a scorpion stinger, ready for the kill. The queen was an excellent addition that they added to the xenomorphology in the sequel. And, much like in the first movie, when ejected into space, you see she does just fine. She was just such a well-done monster. The later movies, mostly crap, show a few more interesting things, like how alien physiology changes depending on the host body, or how effective they are as swimmers. But most of the good stuff are in these first two. In the Alien vs. Predator movies, more sheer action with pseudo-horror bits, the only thing we see is, versus even the Predator. Without their weapons and technology, they don't stand a chance either. Fast, brutal, calculating, stealthy, effective, intelligent, strategic, and tirelessly persistent, the xenomorph truly is the perfect organism.
So what could possibly beat out the ultimate survivor/hunter? Well, let's take a look at some honorable mentions before I show you.
Who is this?
My name is in code.
Where's my watch?
In your shoe. Under the bed.
Footsteps in, but there's no footsteps out.
Oh, God.
That's disgusting.
And the number one movie monster of all time is... John Carpenter's The Thing. Both the 1982 and 2011 versions. Man is the warmest place to hide. That was the tagline for this movie. Scarier than Alien's solitary line of, "In space, no one can hear you scream." This jumps straight to letting you know the body horror that's to come. The villain of this movie likes being inside the human body.
Creepy already? Hang on a second. Needless to say, guys, I've got a lot to say here, so spoilers are most certainly included. If you haven't seen both of these movies, go do so right now, and then come back and watch this number one spot. Yes, I said both, 2011 one included.
I don't care what any neckbeard reviewers say. Any true fans of the Thing franchise like both for what they're worth and don't sit there stroking their nostalgia boner for the original horrors from the 70s and 80s. Claiming the 2011 Thing is not as good as the original is a misleading argument, as the original from the 80s was actually a remake of the 50s black and white movie, so shove it, you biased pricks!
Both movies were fantastic, so go do yourself a favor and watch them. Unless you're okay with major plot points being ruined. Seriously, by the time I'm done explaining why it's number one, there's not going to be many surprises left for you in the movie. We good? Alright, here we go. The Thing is more than a perfect survivor. It takes survival to a whole new level, starting on the cellular one. After being frozen in ice for thousands of years, and still kicking,
Woo! That is one hell of a shelf life.
just being exposed to slight warmth can bring this thing right out of its hibernating state. Aggressively too. What makes this creature horrifying is its disturbing ability to absorb all organic matter. That's what it does to you. Doesn't kill you, doesn't impregnate you and then kill you, straight up absorbs you. Not even thinking about the pain or what happens to your consciousness, the scenes where this happens are deliciously grotesque. A flurry of tentacles or a more violent direct nomming technique, once it has absorbed you, is the next phase. Replication. After a short bit of time from taking you in, this thing can shapeshift into you and imitate you perfectly. And here's where the real horror is. Once it's got you, it is you, and your comrades won't know it. It looks, moves, and sounds just like you, if it's completed the transformation. Worse yet is its understanding of this.
It uses that to its friggin' advantage!
Preying on human fear and the desire to survive to turn anyone and everyone against each other. Whatever it can do to make its enemies kill each other, or separate them from each other to pick them off itself. It can imitate fear to create distrust.
I ain't going with Windus. I ain't going with her. I'll go with Child.
Hey, fuck you, Palmer!
I'm going with you!
Who says I want you going with me? All right, cut the bullshit!
Imitate passiveness to create trust.
I'm sorry, fellas, but I'm not up to it.
Supply window!
All right. We got no choice now.
Helplessness to lower your guard.
It's just the last year.
Or even camaraderie to surprise you or get on your good side.
Here in no time. Okay? Don't worry. Hang in there.
And you never know who it is. It can even resort to framing characters that are onto its game, effectively turning human against human.
Yeah, we're up checking around this place. I found this. Look. It was stashed in his own oil furnace. Wind must have dislodged it, but I don't think he saw me find it.
This is a whole new level of stealth and manipulation that the Xenomorph can't even hope to achieve. But, should it be discovered, of which there are a few ways to tell,
I'll save these delicious details for my full-fledged review of these movies, / defense of the new one. Because the 2011 one in particular adds something really cool.
but like I was saying, should it be discovered, it's not out of the game yet. After being found out, or if you interrupt its meal, this creature can inflate, twist, and transform its flesh into a mangled pile, an amalgam of limbs, eyes, claws, teeth, and tentacles, and fuck you up. Be it from a sneak attack,
Clear?
You said there were 5?
an interruption, or straight out aggression. It can and will lash out at you. Cornered is when the thing is at its most ugly and most deadly. Bullets are useless, and melee weapons, while seemingly effective at first, is actually worse in the end, and can lead to bigger problems.
Watching Norris in there gave me the idea that maybe every part of him was a whole. Every little piece was an individual animal with a built-in desire to protect its own life.
Oh, shit. Don't touch it.
The only effective thing against this creature, this horrible monstrosity, is the very popular horror trope of fire. Burn the hell out of it, and you might kill it. I mean, look at this. In the original 80s one, even though they find one of the clearly burned corpses, it's still alive. It's still oozing stuff that will clearly continue killing.
The thing doesn't even need to absorb you to get the job done.
Hosing you down with fluids works. Even just touching you is enough to make you part of it. The thing is nearly unstoppable, from a cellular level to the big boss monster level. The thing is greater than any other creature on my list. Scarabs? Freddy? Not a chance, and both weak to fire. Blob? Thing is a way more effective and violent digestion machine. Space? Thing has already conquered it, as it clearly is, or absorbed, a spacefaring race. The Poltergeist? Give me creepy puppet clowns any day over this shit. Dren? This is rapey enough for me, and this is a way worse stinger. Godzilla or Kaiju?
Okay, maybe these guys would stand a chance. Fire breath certainly helps, but the thing is way more terrifying as far as monsters go.
Velociraptors? Nope. And I already covered how it's equal or greater to the alien's stealth in loneliness or aggression in numbers. The thing has all its bases covered. Sneakiness, manipulation, terror, grossness, violence. And personally to me, this grotesque body transformation, flesh pile stuff, is a particular body horror that really affects me. That's why things like Akira, the G-Virus monster from Resident Evil, always gave me the worst frights.
But at the same time, I find it really cool. It's horrifying to look at, but I can't look away either. That's why Dead Space is my favorite game series of the current generation.
It's based very heavily off The Thing. The Thing. Terrible and murderous, able to hide in plain sight, and keen to all of our weaknesses and insecurities. My personal choice for the #1 movie monster.
Well, there you have it, folks. My personal list of the scariest movie monsters. I really hope you enjoyed it. Of course, leave your thoughts in the comments if you would like. And always like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more. Maybe if you guys would like, I could create a completely separate list in dedication to my honorable mentions and why they didn't quite make the cut. Also, if you're curious why Blair / the Devil from The Exorcist isn't on either, I just find that movie more silly than scary. I will leave it at that before the hate comes in. I'm the Lightning Rod, and happy Halloween, my horror homies!